Welcome back to Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me at MarketSite is Mike Venuto. He's a co-founder of TETF at Teroso Investments. Thank you very much for joining us at MarketSite. Now, you're coming over from the ETP Forum conference going on today, and one of the topics is, why is the ETF industry just continuing to grow?
Yeah, and you see it with the amount of people that are coming, right? So every time I'm there at one of these conferences, you see more vendors coming. But I think the main reason for growth, we tend to break it into two concepts. Number one, we call it client alignment factors, which is ETFs in general are aligned with clients. They're cheaper than mutual funds. They're more tax efficient. They're liquid. They're transparent. And that's why you've seen the massive growth in the bigger issuers. But then there's this second tranche, which I call innovation growth factors, right? ETFs democratized access to bonds, to gold. We're now seeing, attempts to do things that are long short or Bitcoin or blockchain. So those two factors are really what's making the whole industry grow.
And who's benefiting from the growth?
The client.
Right.
It's amazing, right? I can access things cheaper than ever before, and yet we have an industry that's come out of nowhere 25 years ago that grows at 20% a year and generates, almost $8 billion in revenue. That's a big difference from what they pay.
It's amazing how it's taken fixed income, how it's taken commodities and made it accessible to the average retail investor, such as myself, and it really is amazing to watch the growth in the industry. How can investors continue to participate in the growth?
Okay, so I look at there's two ways. One, use them, right? They're better vehicles. I mean, even Warren Buffett tells us they're a better vehicle. Number two, there are a whole ecosystem of companies that are involved. Nasdaq is very involved from an indexing standpoint, as well as a trading standpoint, as well as data feeds. So the universe of companies benefiting from this growth, it's not just BlackRock and WisdomTree and State Street. It's also the exchanges, it's the index providers like S&P and MSCI. It's the liquidity providers. So this amazing growth in all this smart beta ETFs turn over about 10 times as much as traditional indexes. That creates revenue for all these trading companies. Some of the best performing companies in the ETF ecosystems are companies like Virtue and Cowen and Flow Traders that trade this stuff. So what we really try to do is build an index to track all the companies benefiting from this rising tide of ETF assets.
Are there any headwinds in the industry?
There's a huge headwind that ironically many of the companies that are benefiting from ETFs are also involved with, which is the idea that the blockchain, which we're actively involved with as well, could displace this better vehicle, this ETF. We could someday have BTFs, blockchain traded funds, where you're kind of cutting out some of the custodians and middlemen in the process. I think that's a long way off, but it is something to be excited about and pay attention to, and be aware that many of these ETF issuers know it's coming.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mike, for joining us at MarketSite, and thank you for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.